Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So talking about how to get better in League of Legends, tips and tricks, and overall just how to climb the ladder feels like a very important part of my channel. This is also something I personally enjoy talking to you guys about and something I hope a lot of you also enjoy hearing about. For this one, we'll be talking about 5 quick tips to raise your ELO. Now I got the inspiration for this video from actually watching Rush's stream several months ago. Rush is obviously known to be a very good player, but he's also really known for climbing the ladder exceptionally quickly. Whether that's the NA or the EU ladder, or even more impressively, the Korean ladder. He's been an absolute dominating force in solo queue, and he can get challenger with a very high win ratio. Now on one of his streams, I remember someone actually asking the question, what exactly is the difference between high elo players and low elo players, especially ones in Korea and ones in other regions like maybe NA or EU? And his answers to that question was what inspired this video. So right before we get into the meat of the topic, the question of this video is, what is your current ELO? What bracket or division are you in? And if you end up enjoying this video, please definitely hit that like button to show your support. But alright guys, let's start talking about the 5 quick tips. Now the first 3 I'll be talking about are the ones that Rush himself did mention, and I will also be putting it in order from least to most important for the first 3 based on what Rush had said. Alright guys, so the first quick tip that Rush mentioned to be also the least important of the 3, yet still very important, is mechanics. This one is gotta be the hardest one to just flat out improve, which is why it's also probably the least important. Mechanics essentially just refers to being able to play champions better than your enemies, to just be able to outplay them and beat them through raw skill. Maybe being able to react slightly quicker to things coming at you and just things like that. Now this is definitely a very important trait and a very important tip to remember because, well, this is what's gonna hard carry your games until you are at your peak ELO, and this is why you see a lot of streamers who do that unranked to diamond series get to diamond, master, and challenger fairly quickly with a high win rate because they simply outplay their opponents. They're just mechanically better. But how do you improve your mechanics? How do you get better at mechanics in video games? Well, there's several things you can do even online, such as various games you can play that just test your reaction speed, which if you just continuously practice will improve your mechanics overall. But it really just comes down to playing the game a lot. You just play the game over and over and over. You'll get used to what potentially could come at you, how to react to certain things, and how to play certain champions. And also maining maybe 3 champions and always playing those 3 champions, or at least for the majority of your games, will also heavily improve your mechanics, specifically with those champions. But that right there is the first quick tip. Again, not the most important one, mainly because not only is it just really hard to improve, but there are just simply more important things or aspects in League of Legends and gaming in general that can help you be a better player. Moving on to the number 2 quick tip that also Rush had mentioned to be more important than mechanics is map awareness, or just awareness in general. You'd be surprised at how something so simple as just map awareness, just looking at the map, is so darn important, and how much it can really separate the good players from the great ones. This can easily be the difference between you living and you dying, whether it's just seeing something on the minimap past one of your wards, seeing them pass some certain objective, seeing people maybe gank across the map and you seeing it fast enough and being able to react to it. It's just being aware of what's happening around the map and just always being on top of everything. I remember a while ago there was an interview with Faker where a fan asked him the question of just simply, how do I get better at League of Legends? What is your number 1 tip? And his answer was this: map awareness. He simply said, look at your map every 5 seconds, whether you're laning, whether you're jungling, even if you're team fighting and the whole team is not even there, or maybe the whole team is there, doesn't matter. Every 5 or so seconds, look at your minimap, look what's happening, look where the wards are, think of where potentially the enemy can be, the enemy jungler, or whatever. There's also a really cool video where it'll play a sound every 5 seconds, and every time you hear the sound, well, you just simply look at your minimap. It's a very easy and simple reminder. I will link the video in the description below, and I do recommend you at least try one time. Alright guys, moving on to tip number 3, and what Rush himself said is probably the most important thing in League of Legends to becoming not only a better player, but is the main difference between high elo players on maybe the Korean server and the NA or EU servers, and just high elo and low elo players in general. And that tip is decision making. There is a very famous Korean player called Apto, or Dopa, and he's considered to be among the best League of Legends players in the world. He literally makes makes a ridiculous amount of money right now just simply ELO boosting accounts. This guy's an absolute monster, but the interesting thing about him is the fact that, well, his mechanical skills are nothing to brag about. In fact, his mechanical skills are very average. Because as we stated earlier in the video, mechanical skills, even though they are important, there's definitely more important things to worry about. What makes Apto or Dopa so insanely skilled at this game is his decision making. He plays League of Legends probably the same way a grandmaster plays chess. He thinks several moves ahead. He purposely does actions to make his opponents do certain things that he wants them to do. He puts them in a very awkward scenario. He starves them essentially in League of Legends. He knows when to do what in the game. He knows what objectives to go for, which ones are more important and when. All of this is decision making. Decision making is gotta be the most important thing in League of Legends, but it's also very, very difficult, and you only get better at this through not only playing the game but also studying it, whether it's looking at high level player replays, pro plays, or even analyzing your own replays and understanding what you could have done when and why. It's the difference between getting a Baron or an inhibitor or a dragon. It's the difference between pushing bot lane as a team versus having just people go in the top lane for a 4-1 split or doing a 1-3-1 split. It's the difference between knowing when to roam and when to push in the lane, how to team fight, when to go in and when to go out of a team fight, and it really is just the backbone of League of Legends. So I'll give you guys one example right now. So you just had a huge team fight in the mid lane, you win the team fight, you still have 4 people alive, the only person that died on your team is your support, and now you have to decide what is the better option. Do you go take Dragon? Do you go push down the second mid-tier tower and try to get the inhibitor as well because the death timer is at 40 seconds? Or do you go ahead and take the free Baron and then contest the objectives like inhibitor after? So personally, I believe going for the inhibitor is the best option. Getting this in the tower as well is gonna be the most rewarding one. You'll get the most gold out of it, you'll get a lot of map pressure, which you can then later on work towards getting the Baron as well by playing with the mid lane push. All in all, is just being able to make those kind of decisions in just a couple of seconds. Now the next 2 quick tips I'll be talking about are ones that I personally want to just throw into this video because I do think they're also very important. The first one being communication. Now League of Legends is heavily revolved around teamwork. So if you're playing with a group of friends or just a pre-made 5, it's really important that you're in maybe Skype or Discord to communicate, to talk about things that you can do, move as a team, and tell people where people are missing, to gank something, etc. But if you're playing solo queue, then this comes down to just using your pings or just simply typing in the chat. For instance, if your laner is missing, maybe they went up somewhere, maybe they just died and they haven't come back to lane for a while, well, ping your lane to say that they're missing, type in the chat to say that they're missing as well. If your laner just flashed, if they use some kind of offensive summoner, say that in the chat, be like, yeah, Varus just used flash. Your jungler will know this and your jungler will be very happy. If you see your laner is somewhere bot lane trying to gank that and you're just simply too late to follow up, type in the chat, maybe, you know, they have no ult, they have no flash, they have no summoners, whatever. Communicate with your team, tell them you want to push down mid, tell them you want to do this, tell them you should get this item, tell them you want to get this item for yourself, maybe say you want to get dragon, whatever. Just communicate, tell them what you're thinking. People cannot read minds and you have to remember that. But moving along to the final quick tip of this video, we will be talking about abusing the enemy tilt. Now this one I would definitely say is slightly more of an unethical approach, yet it's still very effective. The idea is quite simple. Before the game starts or as you're in the loading screen, use some website like LOLking, OPGG or whatever and look at the enemy stats. Take a look at who on the enemy team is potentially on tilt, which one is maybe not performing very well in their past games, which one is on a champion maybe that they're just simply not very skilled with. Observe this and try to abuse this. For instance, if maybe the top laner on the enemy team is playing a champion that they're not super familiar with and they lost their past 3 or 4 games on a pretty bad score, tell your jungler, if you're not the jungler, to gank top. Maybe yourself as a mid laner, and maybe go top a bit more often. Just camping that person will put them further on tilt and it will make your game a lot easier. Now again, this is a little bit more of an evil thing to do and it's definitely a little more unethical, but again, it's very, very effective. Think of it this way, you are essentially preying on the weak. But either way guys, that is about it for this video. I mean, there you have it, some 5 quick tips to hopefully raise your ELO, and I really hope you guys did enjoy and learn something new. If you did enjoy it and learn something new, definitely hit that like button, make sure to share this with your friends as well, and check out my other videos. But either way guys, I thank each and every one of you for watching, and I hope to see you for the next video. Peace.
We know you two can do it. You don't need it.
Yo, can you tank?
Can you relax?
Bro, you can't lie though. This.
That's funny.